So a while ago, I told you guys that I was going to do a gardening series type of thing. So this is the start of that series. I'm not an expert. I'm going to throw that out there. I am not an expert. I don't know what I'm doing more than half the time. But sometimes when you just do things instead of thinking about all the things behind it, it works out. So that's the inspiration that I want to kind of push off and give to you guys, is that I'm not an expert, but I've watched a few different channels where, you know, I didn't think I could do something, but because someone else just went ahead and did it, or they tried a different technique or whatever it may be, I was able to try it and succeed. And so I want to kind of try to give that out there. You don't have to be an expert to grow. Some of the most typical comments I hear is, I don't have a green thumb. Oh, I couldn't garden for my life. I'm afraid to even start and invest in it. And so what I want to try to show you is you don't need all these expensive, you know, things to start a garden. You can start from where you are. And I'll show you a few different things that I use or I have used in the past that has worked well for me. And I'm going to show you how I organize my seeds so I don't get overwhelmed. So I will try to keep this as short as can be, because I'm not telling you how to do something. I'm just showing you how I did it. And once you get going, same with a garden, every year it just grows and grows and grows, and so do you. So that's what I kind of want to push out there. Hopefully it inspires someone to start gardening this year.
Everybody, don't forget, like, share, subscribe, and Bubba.
So the way I have my seeds right now, I don't recommend because it collects moisture. But I'm in the process of changing it over because I don't like this, especially being out in the greenhouse. I can already see that moisture is starting to collect in the bags. But for visual purposes, I just wanted to show you how I organize my seeds. So the first thing I do is kind of organize them into what they are. So I go through and, like, I'll have a section for peppers, I'll have a section for, say, flowers, tomato, lettuces, etc., etc. And I keep them together to store all year round. And then when it comes time to planting, I kind of go through each one and decide, what do I want to grow this year? So once I've decided what I wanted to grow, I mean, to look at everything as a whole, it seems so overwhelming. For example, this is one bag of seeds that I'm going to be planting this year. This is another bag, this is another bag, and I've already started these guys. So how I organize them from here is from the time they need to be planted. So the majority of my seeds I get from Am I Gardener. There are also a few seeds that I've gotten that are from somebody local and from around where I used to live before. But on the back of a seed packet, okay, you're going to, let me get in closer here. You're going to see things like start indoors. Let me see. I want this to be focused. So you're going to see things like start indoors, plant, direct sow, days to germination, etc. So all the seeds information is going to be on the back or wherever it is on your seed packet. And so this one, if I'm going to direct sow, so this one I have the option of direct sowing and I have the option of starting indoors. So I'm going to do both. This is dill. So this is something I can dry. It's an herb and I can use it for many things. So what I do after I go through all my seeds and decide what I want is I organize them into when they needed to be started, whether it's 8 to 12 weeks out, or these are my 3 to 4 weeks. And then the big one is direct sow. So these ones all can be direct sown. This is the bulk of them. But if I were to look at things as a whole, right from the beginning, that's all I used to see. I was so overwhelmed. I used to see it like I have all these seeds to plant. There's no way. But now I've broken it down. So all I have to do now, when it's time, when we built this greenhouse, or Mike built it, I had to worry about getting some soil. I had to worry about getting containers. I had to worry about many other things. So if I had to start off by planting all these in the beginning, it might be a little bit tricky for my brain to work with it. But now I know that I just got to focus on these ones. So that's how I organize my seeds. I want to step away from the baggie. That's what I used to use when we lived in town. But with being here, I find that they collect a lot more moisture. So I am going to find like, I'm sure we have one, I just can't think of it, a suitable, like, I would like to get a little dresser and paint it multiple colors and keep my seeds in there. So now what I'm going to show you is a few different ways that you can go ahead and start your seeds as well. Some of them are things that I have tried over the years. Some of them are, a couple of them are things I'm trying for the first time this year. You don't need to be, what's the word? You don't need to go crazy and buy a bunch of stuff. You can get creative when you put your mind to it. So I'll show you some of the things that I've used in the past now. So this is a creamer container. You can get milk in it as well. But what you could do is you could use the bottom portion of it here, and you can use it for like single seeds. You can also keep it intact and cut out a hole here and use the whole thing as a seed starter. I recommend, no matter what way you try, to drill some holes in the bottom for drainage, but I'm going to plant something in there today because it's something that I have. Another thing that I've used, I'm not 100% sure that I like these, but I still use them for some things. I would not use these for things that are precious to me, so something that I like really, really want to see succeed. Reason being is, it might just be me, but reason being is that once it's wet, I'm trying to even separate it. Once it's wet, or your seeds are growing in it, you're supposed to peel this off. Even though it's paper, you're supposed to peel it off, and I don't ever seem to peel it off correctly. It sticks to the roots, and it, I mean, the stuff's always grown, but it's just, to me, it's just too finicky. But I would plant something that, you know, like maybe a flower or something like that, or I don't know, something that I wouldn't care too much for. I would use those, but it's something that you can use. If it's what you've got, use it. Just for me personally, it could just be the way I do it. I don't like it. Another thing you can use is water bottles. So some people will cut the bottoms of water bottles off, or again, just like the creamer, you can cut the tops here off and use it as a seed starter. So these are wonderful because they can do two things. One, you can cut the bottom off like I did here. So you can plant it in there and then make it its own little greenhouse. So you don't need the greenhouse structure that I have. If you don't have a greenhouse or somewhere that is warm enough to put outside, you can always put your seedlings in a sunny window. As the seeds get older, I'll go into more depth of what I know are things to watch out for if you are growing them in a window. But you can do this and make it its own greenhouse. But another thing that it's really great for, if you already have the plastic bottles on hand, is cutting the bottom off of the bottle, and then when your seed start goes into the ground, when it's time to plant it, if you're going to have a chilly night, you can always put this over top, and it acts like a greenhouse barrier as well. So that's something that you can do. Another thing that you can do, some people have also used aluminum foil trays just to get seeds started. They've got the black trays from the dollar store. I was lucky enough that I know somebody that had a ton of these on hand, so I was able to score a few off of her. But this is what I'm going to be using for my peppers today. So there's those as well. There's this seed block thing that's super cool. I got this, I can't remember where I got it, but if I can find it on Amazon, I'm not sure I did find it there, but if I can find it on Amazon, I'll link it down below. You put this in soil and you keep compacting it and compacting it, and then squeeze out little soil blocks. So you don't actually have like a container, the soil to be in. You just have the soil blocks itself, and that way you're not wasting containers as well. I know I don't have any, but you can make paper pots from newspaper. There's a ton of creative stuff. I mean, if you just go and Google it or go to Pinterest and look up ways to start your seeds or containers to start your seeds, you'll see a bunch of thrifty ideas and you can use them. I hear voices. Let's go see. It's Mike. I can hear him from in the house. Well, since we're out here, this is my little structure that Mike put together. Again, it's just temporary. We had already had the plastic on hand because we were going to do a big greenhouse right here, but decided against it. So for now, this is what we're going to use to start all of our seeds in. We have a bunch of doors that were lying around here. So we're going to use them, and this is the inside. It's not organized right now, but you know what? Done is better than perfect. One thing that I recommend is always planting, whatever it is you're planting, always use pre-moistened soil. So the soil you buy from the store, I make sure it's wet. It makes it, the reason I do that is because it makes it so that the water doesn't sit on top. So I just put it in I have a big green bin like beside me here, and I just put the soil in there. And then I moisten it and wet it. Then what I do, for peppers, you want to go about 1/4 inch into the soil. So I've marked a wooden spoon of one that was gonna hit for either the fire or the trash. I marked a wooden spoon with 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and an inch. So that's an inch from there to there. So then all I do is I go and whatever the height is or the depth is that we need for the seed, I will go ahead and just press that in to all of my plants or my soil pot. Punched all my holes into the soil. And one pepper that I could not wait to, I've been looking for this pepper for quite some time. Haven't been able to find it, so I did find it this year. Not the right one. It would help if I showed the right one. Not that one. Where'd it go? There it is. It's the Jimmy Nardello. I am going to plant all 10 of this one. 4, 5. So yes. So I'm planting all 10 of the Jimmy Nardello pepper. I'm going to actually plant all of them except a couple. I have 10 seeds in here. And I'm going to save 2 of them because that's all there is. I'm going to save 2 of them for actually germinating in a plastic bag with paper towel. And I'll show you that method in another video. So now all you want to do is mark your label. Jim Nardello. And today is, I don't even know what the day is, the 27th. So we're going to put March 27th so I know what that is. And I'm going to put times 8. Or that's all I do for starting seeds. But I do have a couple methods. Like I mentioned earlier, I have one with the paper towel method. I also have, like this one here, it's my tomatoes. So they're all, oh, look at that. They're all starting to come up. Well, not all, but a lot of them. They needed the warmth from the greenhouse. So I started these on March 22nd. And what I did was each one of these things is a different tomato. So I have Black Tula, Homestead Tomato, Moscow, Baylor Paste, Hillbilly, Silvery Fir, Gilberty, Amana, Vintage Wine, and Yellow Plum. So I planted several seeds in each one of these containers. So before these plants get too big, I separate them into their own containers. I just did that to get things going because I only have limited of these little guys here. The peppers I did do and I will do individually. And what I'm going to do is try to keep them in this container until it's time to plant. But I like to do things in different ways for no reason, apparently. And so all I have to do from here now is just water this plant. The soil I use, just so you guys know, the soil that I use is ProMix. And normally I buy the organic kind from Costco, but there isn't a Costco near us and we're not going out anyways. So what I have is just the one from the local hardware store that I bought a couple weeks ago. And we're just going to use that and what we already have for compost here. Did you want to come and help out in the greenhouse, mister? Is it nice and warm in here? Yeah? You so need a bath and a haircut. For those new to the channel, this is Bubba, and he is an old guy. He is 14. He'll be 15 at the end of the year. Yeah, but he's such a cute guy, other than his bark, huh? Yeah. Yeah. Old man. He's going blind. Yes, he's going blind. But he knows where his mama and daddy are, don't you? What are you two up to? That's what I want to know. She sees us, so she's coming the way she sees us instead of taking the road.
I got one tree.
Uh-oh. Step on it. Step on it on the rock. Oh, who's gonna get here first? Where did you guys go? Oh, you stinkers. Where did you guys go? So we've trained them that when they hear a whistle, as long as they can hear it, they come back. Because they know they'll get something. Hey guys. Good job. Come here. Come here, guys. I can't believe how big she is. She's only 7 months old. Hey, Becca. Becca. Brody. You say hi to everybody. Say welcome to spring, huh? This better not be the false spring. This better be the real spring. So I've watered the peppers, and just so I can show you guys, I had a piece of plastic. I like to keep it over top during the day. I do take it off at night, just so it gets nice and warm, because peppers like warmth. I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do, but it's what I do. Another thing you can do with the water bottle, if you don't have a watering can, is you can put a hole in the top and then just water it this way. I'm not really looking at what I'm doing, so and water it this way. Something else I'm doing as an experiment, we have the walls of this greenhouse are double wrapped for extra warmth. The ceiling is only single, but we're going to see how it works out. So we might wrap it twice. I've planted some kale in here, and I'm going to keep this out here. I'm not going to bring this in the house to stay warm at night, because this is a greenhouse, this is a greenhouse. I might find something to keep, I guess, around it, just so it holds warmth a little bit better at night. But I want to try to see what I can do with this water bottle. And I also dropped a bunch of seeds onto the muddy ground, so they got a little bit moist, a little bit damp. So I've planted in here a whole bunch of paprika peppers, and we'll keep it in there until they start growing, and then I'll separate them into their own little pods. But the whole point is just to start. And then when you do start something, you might not be so afraid of it next time you go to try. My very first garden was small. I had really no backyard. I just had a patio. And my very first garden was horrible. Everything died. My dog dug it all up. And now look at me. So start where you are. Even if it doesn't work out to the best of its ability or to the best of your ability, start where you are. And grow. Just grow, grow, grow. Yeah. I don't know. It's just something that makes my heart so happy, and so much that gardening gives to you. Gardening is a conversation. Gardening starts conversation. Gardening gives you the ability to give to others. It gives you an abundance of food for yourself. It's connection with the earth. It's connection with how things start and how things end. It taught me patience. It wasn't my favorite thing to do in the whole wide world. It actually came out of necessity because we had just purchased our home. And when I first started really gardening, we had just purchased our first home. And probably about, I'm going to say, a month and a half after we purchased our home, I quit my job and went back to school. And I took out a student loan, and we were house poor. We would have been poor even if we didn't buy a house, but now that we owned it, we were house poor. And I'll never forget, we had a really wicked ice storm that winter that I started school. And so I went around to everybody, because all these branches were down everywhere, and I went around to everybody to go and collect these long branches from their curbside. And I had people donating them to me as well, and I had the kids looking for them in parks and in our yard and whatnot. And we ended up building a fence with all of this wood that we got curbside from trees, branches, and all that. It came out of necessity, but that year, that was the point, it came out of necessity. But that year that I did that, the abundance that I got from my garden, I think I have photos and I'll post them here if I do, but the abundance that I got from that garden was crazy. And the conversations that it started, and people were like, can I have this? Can I have that? Can you grow extra of this? And it was just, every year, it's my favorite thing to do, to start to be able to get my hands in the dirt, my feet in the mud, and start the conversation. So again, guys, I am no expert whatsoever. I don't want to tell you what to do whatsoever. I'm showing you how I do it, and it seems to work out. So just by trying, that's half the battle, is trying. But I'll leave you guys with that. Until next time.